Hello. We are live in the pre-production mode for the Xander Gibb show for Thursday. Just making sure we're live everywhere. We're just going to be sharing the show, making sure not to share it anywhere we shouldn't because people get really angry about that. How dare you share your show in our feed, they say. Go away. All these pop-ups like telling me that I'm live. When I know I'm live, I click the button to go live. If you have just joined us, you are watching the pre-production mode section of the Xander Gibb show. We're just doing a little sharing and a little carrying and a little bit of whatever takes our fancy. Wrong thing. The wonders of live television. Oh, to have a crew to do all of this for me. So all I have to do is come on air and say, welcome to today's episode of the Xander Gibb show, but it don't work like that. I wish it did. Here we go. YouTube. Just getting the YouTube link because I know some of you like to watch it on the TV, like to watch it on the big movie screen. Can't think why. But we will, I'm sure, find out. Just copying the video URL. If you do watch the show on YouTube, be sure to click like and follow the page at Madrigal Media, which is the production company. That's that. Let's share the YouTube link underneath the live link. And we are now in the live feed, just going to do some sharing on Facebook. Where gotta go to there. Gotta go to this page. Go underneath the video. Click Soup for a Group, as I like to call it. Now, I've got to be very careful that I don't put it in any groups that I'm not supposed to share it in, because when I do, people start to cry because it's a hate crime. How dare you, Xander? Sharing in our group when your share is absolutely nothing to do with our show. We will be getting started very soon. We're just sharing and letting the feeds fill and letting the news finish. Before we get started with today's episode of, yeah, you guessed it, the Xander Gibb show. So, hello to those of you who are watching but are not actually in the live feed. Come join us. We do not bite. Well, I don't anyway. Some may, but not me. I think we are nearly there. Just sharing to the final few pages. Before we get started, for the Xander Gibb show proper, so I guess this must make this segment of the Xander Gibb show the improper segment or part of the Xander Gibb show. We are Nearly done with sharing. Because sharing is caring. Why is it not letting me do this? Where is it? Share to a... It's not letting me do what I want to do. Very slow, this sharing game. Hello to chat. Welcome. You are the first in the live feed. We are getting ready to start the Xander Gibb show. Just got 2 more shares. If you are watching, please do feel free to share the show. We will be getting started any minute now for the Xander Gibb show. Oh, yes, sirree. Don't forget about our drinking game. If you, hello to my Gina. Click that share button now, my Gina. Don't forget our drinking game. If you hear me say the phrase, oh, yes, sirree. Or even, we're going to add now Goat Lives Matter, because there's a lot of talk of Goat Lives Matter. If you hear either one of those phrases on tonight's show, feel free to take a tipple of whatever takes your fancy on this, the Xander Gibb show. Final share, and then we're going to go live. We're going to go live everywhere. Live for the live show. I don't know why I go into this southern accent, but I do. And I like it, and if you don't like it, then I guess don't like it. But we are going to get into serious mode now because we are wrong teeth in today. We are going to go live now for today's episode of the Xander Gibb Show. Cue opening title.
It has been good to me this time around. Things were never bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact, and I can find no ribs. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits that left me on the floor. This is love, yeah, love. All will come to those who wait. Time it cannot know the bounds, and here I don't dictate.
Well, hello and welcome to today's edition of the Xander Gibb Show, the talk show that really does get you talking on the Xandermonium Network, live from an undisclosed location. I am Xander Gibb, and on today's show, bringing you the best in Patriot broadcasting 5 nights a week. On tonight's edition, I get on my soapbox and give you the opportunity to get on yours just for a change, and in our phone-in, we will be breaking down the day's hottest topics. CV Burton from Freedom on Deck joins us. And in part 2, author Michael Keller joins us. You can have your say in the feed below. And as usual, I will be sharing your comments as we go. You can follow me on social media and check me out at xandergibb.com. You can even check me out at Parler now. So for all of you that are bragging about Parler, I am there, folks. And you can find me there as Engelbert Humperdinck. No, I'm joking. You can find me there as Xander Gibb. Let's come to the live feed and say hello to everybody in the live feed. Hello to chat. Thank you for sharing. Hello to Gina. Hello to my Gina. Hello to CV. Hello to everyone else that's watching, but not actually in the live feed. You can Come and join us in here. Have your say, whether you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. You are welcome to join us. So with increased rioting and calls for defunding of the police, gun sales have skyrocketed in the month of June. Now the left is showing their true colors when it comes to the police because it contradicts the narrative regarding gun control. You can't control someone with a gun, right, Nancy Pelosi? And, they don't want the police or you to be armed, and millions of Americans think otherwise. Get your guns, folks, because the revolution is here. And I have to say, it really kind of concerns me that New York has the audacity to defund the police, to take $1 billion away from them. Let's not forget, folks, that this is the same police force that on 9/11 went into burning buildings to save New Yorkers. And this is how America's biggest asshole, Bill de Blasio, repays them. So just remember that, folks. When people are voting, remember that Bill de Blasio has taken away the funding, $1 billion of funding from the police in NYC. I have a hair in my mouth. I hope it's not a rabbit. So, folks, we got to speak out about this because this is the same police force that saved people on 9/11. I'm not sure if you're sharing in the same group's chat, but we will leave it for the group owners to do what they will with. The Dow jumps 400 points and NASDAQ has a fresh record Thursday as jobs report for June shows 4.8 million jobs created ahead of Independence Day holiday, which is great news for all Americans. Most jobs are good for everyone except Pelosi and her misery hucksters, also known as the Democrats. And we're sick of them. Hello, Janie. Welcome to the live feed. You are most welcome. So the progressive Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, said that he is sorry for not doing enough to fight for institutional racism, claiming that it's endemic in society and that it's an unconscious bias, must be recognized and confronted. Now, the prince made his comments in a video address delivered at the Diana Award ceremony, honoring the 59th birthday of his late mother on Wednesday. The charity event was established to promote youth activism in memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, and her belief that young people have the power to change the world. Well, it's a shame that Harry is not a young person. I can't talk tonight. Is not a young person that is changing the world. He's actually jumping on a propaganda bandwagon, and his mother wouldn't have held truck with that in any way, shape, or form. So what do you say out there? We've got time for a couple of calls. You can call us if you're in the United States of America, 845-363-4747. That's 845-363-4747. Or if you're in the United Kingdom, you can call us on 0208-133-5274. That's 0208-133-5274. Give us a call now about any of the topics that we've talked about or anything that you've got on your mind. I just can't get off my mind this $1 billion that Bill de Blasio has taken from the police. From the perspective of that these brave men and women every day have gone out and fought for us. And now that all they've done is uphold the law, they've been held back, they've been shot at, they've been attacked, and now he's taking the money from them. And I'm furious about it. And even if you don't know anybody that's a cop, if you want to stay safe, you got to keep the police, and you got to keep them in the format that they are now. Because here's the ideology for me. Can you imagine on 9/11 sending a group of social workers in after terrorists flew planes into the World Trade Center? Can you imagine that? Sending in a group of social workers in their comfortable shoes. No disrespect to social workers. I'm a social worker too. That's what I'm trained to do. But interestingly enough, it's clear that Bill de Blasio has forgotten this. Janie says, do you think that Trump may step in and change this unfunding or defunding even. Yeah, I'm hoping he does, but I'm hoping he steps in on all other things. I'm hoping he's going to pardon Roger Stone because, otherwise this guy is going to end up in jail. And I'm not being anti-Donald Trump, but I really want to see him do a few more things than he's actually doing. I know he's damned if he is, and he's damned if he does, and damned if he doesn't. But either way, I think that he has to step in on these issues because he cannot allow the police to be defunded in New York City. It's his home state, and it's my home state too. And for the police to be defunded, nothing's coming up on my screen. Here we go. So this is our first caller of the day. I'm just wondering if the call has gone through because you can never tell. Yes, it looks like it has. And I'm guessing from the number that it's Lord Martin of Long Island. Welcome back to the show, chat. How is the world with you, and what jumps out at you either from what I've read or from what you've seen today, and what's really pissing you off?
Well, yeah, obviously what you were just talking about is really pissing me off.
Yeah.
Because I live in the great state of New York. And I still call it great, even though it's a liberal hellhole when you go into Manhattan. But you know what, Xander? There are more patriots out here on Long Island in upstate New York, a lot of patriots, freedom-loving Americans.
Right.
Manhattan doesn't represent all of us. And Mr. Bill DeBlasio also does not represent us, the police, our veterans, or any true patriot that lives in New York. That man is a disgrace. Every time I hear him talk, I want to throw up. And I can't imagine having to be a police officer and give that man detail throughout his day, and his wife, and his kids, by the way, who are all protected by police.
Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't you think that if you were asked to do the duty to protect him, the protection detail, wouldn't you think that you would say, hell no? Because I know that I would.
I agree with you. But, police swear to protect the American people, and they swear to protect, unfortunately, some politicians that are very evil people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to say it. But, Xander, this guy is not only way left of center, but he's also just an evil, dirty scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, the guy doesn't even use his real name. His real name is Warren Wilhelm.
Right.
And because his daddy was mean to him, he's changed his name. A lot of everyone knows that Gibb is not my real name. It's my professional name. But, when you get death threats for doing the job that you do, you kind of have to protect yourself. And I'm not sure if maybe Warren Wilhelm hasn't had enough death threats. That's the problem,
Well, I think with him, he's got a lot of that white guilt. He's obviously, in his day when he was a community organizer and an agitator, he did a lot of bad things. I've read some really bad things about Bill de Blasio. I've also read that he was one of the individuals that spit in our veterans' faces, not from the Vietnam War, but from people that had come back from Afghanistan. And this is the kind of guy that runs New York. I don't know what else to say except he's a joke. He should not be our mayor. Unfortunately, he is our mayor because of all the unions in New York. And that's Bill de Blasio.
And, I don't know. The other thing is, when I lived in New York, the mayor was, what's his name? Shorty. Bloomberg. And I don't think he did too bad a job. He was quite liberal, but he was definitely not like Warren Wilhelm in any way, shape, or form. And it wasn't until he came into office. A lot of things, like telling me what size soda I can buy pissed me off with Bloomberg. But overall, I didn't think he did too bad a job, fiscally, everything else. He'd run a business. But this guy has just pissed away anything that New York has had and has pissed away any goodwill that we could possibly have. Because he's not just representing Democrats. He's actually representing everybody. But he's not doing that. I think he's forgotten why he's there.
Well, we had, I was young at the time. I was in high school when we had Giuliani. But if
Yeah.
you remember, New York had a real big problem with some of the crime, and I don't, listen, you're homeless, I don't hate you, but we had a lot of problems with the homeless being violent, using hypodermic needles, leaving them laying around. And he did, whether liberals like it or not, he cleaned New York up
He
in
did.
the way that he saw fit. And I remember, Xander, when me and my father would go into the city when Giuliani was our mayor, you actually felt safe in New York.
Right.
We are so far from that right now.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in the UK when Giuliani was mayor, but visiting before, my parents wouldn't kind of let me out of their sight because it was so unsafe. You were going to get beaten, raped, robbed, or mugged, or murdered, or all five. Just for kind of being out on the street. But ultimately, he didn't have too bad a situation when he took over from what's his face. From Bloomberg, whose name always keeps escaping me. It's because I want to call him Tiny Mike.
Because he's forgettable.
Yeah, he's very forgettable, which is why he spent all that money on running for office and then, then dropped out because he's another loser like the rest of the Democrats. But I just wonder what can be done from a national perspective to remove both a mayor and a governor because they're messing the state up so badly to such a dangerous point that the citizens are unsafe. And surely from a federal level, somebody should be able to step in. Donald Trump, if you're watching.
Yeah, I think, the hard part about all that is, like I said, the unions protect those guys. And that's why Democrats hold power in New York, in Connecticut, in California. They all follow suit with California, too. If you notice, when California does something that's bad for the country, you're sure to see New York, Connecticut, and the rest of the liberal hellholes come out with similar ideas, bills, whatever. And, that's how sanctuary cities came to pass. That was created in California and made its way on over to New York. But the problem is with the people in the city, they just don't speak up enough about these guys. And it's amazing, Xander, because anytime I talk to anybody out from the city here on Long Island, none of them like either Cuomo or de Blasio.
No.
And I'm talking about in liberal Long Island.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm finding that even when I talk to Democrats, that they are sick to the back teeth of this idiot too. I want him gone, but the rest of us want him gone too because it's actually affecting us so badly now as a nation, and as New Yorkers, those that live there are actually just affected so badly that everyone's moving out. Nobody wants to frickin' be there.
And the increase in violence right now over the past few weeks to a month is just crazy because you see what's going on. And I was thinking about this, and I wanted to throw this your way. You see what's going on with the rioters when they're calling the police, reporting a crime, the police come, and it was a setup. It was a trap.
Right.
And we see them throwing bottles and bricks and, just treating the police disrespectfully in general. Is the reason that they put bail reform into effect in New York because they knew something was coming? Because as soon as these agitators get locked up, Xander, they're out on the streets within 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, of course. It was all planned very carefully. Hi to Swoop. Welcome to the live feed.
I agree.
It was planned. All of this was planned because I could just see them sitting there and saying, Nancy Pelosi saying, "Oh shit, what if the impeachment doesn't work? What are we gonna do?" And they've sat around like witches, planning the next thing to try and bring him down. Because let's face it, the corona has only been designated a pandemic in order to make it look like President Trump's handling of it is so bad,
Yeah, the handling that President Trump gave to the coronavirus or COVID-19, there are a lot of coronaviruses, but COVID-19 was actually the appropriate one when he said, let's shut down flights coming in from China. We have to stop people from coming in because he was briefed on COVID-19.
Right.
But Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats, in their infinite wisdom, told us we don't have to wear masks.
It's racist.
Yeah, remember when she said, oh, go to Chinatown? This was in December.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, their memory is wiped clean of all the crap that they talked to us before this became a quote-unquote pandemic. And the fact of the matter is right now, they're just being tested more. If you look, Xander, the hospital numbers have gone down in a big way throughout America. So the deaths have also gone down.
Well, exactly, but they're not reporting that. But even, we said this on yesterday's show. Those that have died of corona have had a compromised immunity anyway. And the thing is that not that it makes it okay for them to die, but they're making this as though, Donald Trump himself has gone to 120,000 people's homes and killed them. The deaths are not because of him. You can't tell me that the misinformation from both the CDC and the World Health Organization wasn't on purpose. They've done this in order to kind of make him look bad too. But you know what? The stupidity of the left, I'm tired of it. In fact, I'm so tired of it. When the election is over, I kind of feel like retiring. Do you know that? I hate the politics of America so much that I'm not passionate about it anymore. And that makes me sad. And I'm doing this. I'm sitting here at 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK because I love America so much. And there are assholes that live there that don't care about how bad that it's getting. But, where are they going to run to? Like Ronald Reagan said, where are they going to run to? We got to leave it there because we got a guest coming on. This guy that you might know. He's a guy called C.V. Burton. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's very big he's one of the co-hosts on Freedom on Deck, which I believe it's a show you're familiar with.
Yeah, I've heard of him before.
Yeah.
I know he screams a lot. Tell him not to scream, okay?
Yeah, I will do. But listen, thank you so much for calling in, brother. Chet Martin from Freedom on Deck. Make sure you check them out at freedomondeck.com and on Facebook. Thanks a lot, brother. Take care. So my first guest tonight is C.V. Burton from Freedom on Deck, and he will be calling us any minute from the United States of America. Wish that was, I said, all echoey. America. See if this works. America. There you go. I'm actually, I actually do feel that way. I actually do feel that I want to step away from commentary, from political commentary after the election because it's just so divisive. And, I've had more threats of violence, since I've been back on the air than anything else. I mean, thank God I'm in the UK right now. This should be my first guest of the day, Mr. C.V. Burton, calling from the United States. Thank you for joining us, C.V. How is the world with you?
Oh, it's going pretty well. How's it with you?
It's not bad. I'm just airing my frustrations on the air about how tired I am with American politics and how stupid it's gotten. But I'm guessing you're feeling exactly the same too.
Yeah, I guess that's what our bully pulpits are for, to air our frustration, get it out of our system.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, we'll be yelling at people in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like I do.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. I avoid them. I get my groceries delivered. I pity the grocery delivery guy because I'm like, you didn't have the brand that I wanted? And he's like, sorry, Mr. Gibb. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, whatever it takes. Hi to Carla in the live feed. Let's jump right in, CV, before we both start screaming and shouting.
Wait a minute, before you do that, he does screaming. That is a real test. He says, oh, CV, he's that guy who screams a lot. Tell him not to scream.
Yeah. Did you hear him say that?
He says, he tells me not to scream like that on our show, Freedom on Deck. And so he goes and proceeds to scream on Freedom on Deck. So he's allowed, but I'm not.
Typical. Yeah, it's do as he says, not as he does, which is so typical. So I want to jump right in with our first topic because the Supreme Court this week struck down a Louisiana law requiring abortion providers to have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital, stipulating that could have forced all but one of the state's abortion clinics to close. Now the case, damn teleprompter. The case, June Medical Services versus Russo, was decided by a 5-4 vote with Chief Justice John Roberts, again, joining the court's 4 liberal justices in the majority. Now, can't even talk tonight. So the Louisiana law under the consideration was almost identical to the one that the court threw out in 2016 under the belief that it created an undue burden on women seeking abortions while providing no medical benefit. Now, one of the 5 votes was to block the 2016 law was Anthony Kennedy, who has since been replaced by Brett Kavanaugh. Now, anti-abortion groups had hoped that the change would lead to a different outcome in the new case. But Roberts, who has voted to uphold the Texas law for 4 years, surprised many legal experts by ruling against a similar law this time around. Why there's debate? The decision was a clear win for proponents of abortion rights and a blow to anti-abortion movement. Though there's significant debate in both camps about what it may signal about how the court might rule on the issue in the future. Now, isn't it crazy that they're actually debating about how we kill babies?
Well, I don't understand the legality of any of this. I mean, they struck down a law that would give admitting privileges to abortion clinics, and by doing so, makes it easier for women to have abortions. I have no idea why. All I know is the bottom line because I'm not a lawyer. And I see once again we have Justice Roberts siding on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, again.
Once again. Because I know Andrew Kay always says, it's not necessarily because they're being blackmailed. It's because they're just bad people.
Yeah, well, I would like to ask.
All right.
I would like to ask Justice John Roberts, whose pocket are you in?
Yeah, but if you're able to be blackmailed, that means you've done something bad anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're still a bad person. I'm
not even sure that it's blackmail in some instances. I mean, I would not be surprised if they looked at Justice John Roberts' bank balance, that it would reveal many things, shall we say. Because the concern for me is that, why would you make a decision like that?
Yeah, well, he's been, his name appears on the logs on the Lolita Express. So I think he's a deep state member, a card-carrying Luciferian deep state globalist member.
Yeah, well, that definitely does not surprise me with the kind of decisions that he's making. But what does this spell out for? You see, the thing that I never get about America is that there are state laws and there are federal laws, and in some states some things are legal and some things are illegal, and you can step across the road and go into another state, and the law changes. So federal laws apply everywhere, but as far as I know, federal law overrides state law in most cases. So why not just make it a federal law? Because people are going to want to have abortions anyway. I'm anti-abortion. I'm even torn on the issue of if it makes a problem for the mother, if it puts her life in danger. I mean, that's something that needs to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But I think what is happening far too often in the United States is that abortion is being used as a form of contraception. I mean, even Tim Kaine said when he was on the campaign trail that abortion was a contraceptive right, which is bullshit in my book, because it's not. It's murder.
Yeah. Well, the Bible says it's murder. It's it's a sin to abort your baby in Mosaic law.
Yeah.
And I go by that. Plus, the scriptures say that God knew us before we were conceived, even before the foundations of the earth.
Yeah.
He knew us. I used to have arguments with people who were against abortion, and like, do you believe that life begins at conception? They're trying to one up me or something. I'm like, actually, I'm more anti-abortion than you are, because I believe life begins before the creation of the universe.
Right.
Because that's when God knew each and every one of us.
Absolutely.
So don't tell me how anti-abortion I am, because I know how anti-abortion I am.
Absolutely. I just think it's become very, when we have Hollywood celebrities bragging about how many abortions they've had, it kind of concerns me. I know people who've had abortions, but they don't go around bragging about it and saying, "Oh, I've had several abortions," because it's not something to be proud of, is it? Let's face it.
Well, I don't know how to deal with the issue. It's like that old adage that if you tell somebody not to do something, then they want to do it more.
Right.
It's like like if you put a sign up on a hotel window, a hotel that happens to be right next to the water, and says say no fishing off the balconies, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, fish off the balconies, and they're fishing off the balconies, and things are smashing into the windows below, breaking the windows. Because that's why you're not supposed to fish off the balcony. But just having the sign there made more people want to fish off the balcony, put the idea in their head.
What kind of hotels are you staying in, CV? This is what I want to know.
I don't travel much, to be honest. But the point is, I think education is the key.
Yeah, I think so too.
Change the culture by changing minds, and change minds by informing people about. If you don't know you're killing something, why are you taking a chance? I mean, if there's a debate as to whether the thing in the womb is a living human soul, or it's just a collection of cells, then why would you do it? Why would you take a chance if there's even a question? If you're driving down the street and there's a box in the road, do you just run over it?
Yeah.
Because it's convenient? No, you don't, because there could be kittens in there, or there could be a child playing inside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
To avoid it.
But that's an interesting point, because with the left, if a dog was pregnant, and I kicked the dog, not that I would, that would make me a terrible person. But if I kicked a pregnant dog, I would be the worst person in the world. But that could cause the miscarriage of the puppies. But for it to happen with a human being, it's seen as a totally different thing, because they care more about animals than they do people. Human life is expendable with the left. But even in New York City, a baby is not considered alive until it is born, or if it would be viable outside the womb. So if someone kills a pregnant mother, I think they should be charged with double homicide, because as far as I'm concerned, they've taken two lives. But New York State has become this liberal namby-pamby level of response, where there were probably more abortions than most states. But I think that's alarming, because it encourages this kind of thing.
Any politician in New York State that would vote for something like that is subhuman. They are not even a living human being.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean I'm calling for violence. I'm just saying we educate. But our education systems have been taken over by the commies, and we have to take it back.
We do. We have to take.
And you know what? Go ahead.
We will have to take America back. I think that's what we have to do now. And they've taken so much, and they've done so much that I'm sorry, but I think it is going to end up being a face-off in the United States. I don't want it to be that, but I think it's going to happen. But talking of subhuman, which is a great lead into our next topic. Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite and close friend of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has been arrested, and FBI spokesperson said Maxwell was accused by many women of recruiting them to give Epstein massages, during which they were pressured into sex. Now, those accusations until now never resulted in criminal charges. Maxwell is the youngest of 9 children of Betty and Robert Maxwell, and her father was a bit of a rogue because he disappeared after spending all the pension money of his workers from his newspaper. He was the owner of the Mirror Group, and he founded a placement in a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Epstein was later convicted of sex offenses and subsequently died, cough, 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 which is code for killed by Hillary in prison in 2019. So in 2015, Virginia Giaffer, one of Epstein's accusers, sued Maxwell, alleging the British socialite defamed her by saying she was a liar in her accusations against Maxwell and Epstein. She's also accused Maxwell of recruiting her to work as Epstein's masseuse at age 15 when she was a locker room attendant at Mar-a-Lago in South Florida. Documents released as part of the lawsuit contain Lori claims about the alleged sex trafficking. Now, I'm guessing Prince Andrew is understandably worried, but I want to get ahead of the trend here and say Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. Is it too early to say that?
Yes, it's too early. I think she's still alive, and I think that worries a lot of people.
Yeah.
And she after Epstein died, she slithered away.
She did.
She went to places like Japan, the United Kingdom, Qatar, and I don't mean the musical instrument. And they say that she has several bank accounts. One of them has $20 million in it. And she was arrested on a 156-acre estate in New Hampshire. I mean, this lady, where did she get all that money? And
exactly.
The answer is, all these powerful people paid Epstein for children. And this is the thing that I always notice about even Fox News itself. Everybody thinks it's so fair and balanced. There's a certain line they don't cross.
Absolutely.
There's a certain red line they don't talk about. They don't talk about Seth Rich. They don't talk about Pizzagate. And all these reports about the girls that she recruited, it's always like the cutoff line is 15.
Yeah.
I bet there are babies.
Yeah.
I bet there are babies
for sure.
and toddlers.
For sure. It wouldn't surprise me if they were involved in...
satanic, right. And they were used with satanic sacrifices, and they tortured these babies and these children, these toddlers. They tortured them, and they drank their blood to get off on it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they were involved in the adrenochrome scandal also. But, here's the thing. People have been critical of President Trump today because because there's a picture of President Trump floating around with her. But also, nobody's mentioning the fact that no one's fed...
There's a picture of Trump floating around with me.
Yeah, well, that's even more concerning as far as I'm concerned. I'm joking, of course, but she's a friend of the Clintons. She went to Chelsea Hubbell's wedding. So don't tell me that a picture makes you guilty of anything.
Exactly.
So do you think now that the FBI are going to have to subpoena Prince Andrew because he's not above the law, is he?
Oh yeah, he's not cooperating at all.
No.
He's above the law because he's royalty.
But he's not. He's not. Legally, he's they've already legal scholars in this country have said just because he is the prince, a prince, he can still be arrested and can still be forced to be extradited into the United States to testify. So he's not immune to prosecution.
No. You're right. Just because he has royal blood that goes all the way back to King David. You know that's where royal blood comes from?
Yeah.
That's where royal blood comes from. It comes from King David.
Doesn't make you,
King David had many sons. Solomon was one of his sons.
it doesn't make you immune from prosecution for having sex with minors, though, does it? You know, and
No.
the one I feel
even King David himself had somebody murdered just to steal his wife.
wouldn't surprise me. The thing that concerns me about this as well is that the queen is like 90 something years old. I'm very sad for the families, but I'm very sad for
94.
94. I'm sad for his mother too, because she's got to live through all of this. But I don't think they're going to let her live. I think they're going to get to her like they did Jeffrey Epstein, because she's going to name names, and she's going to implicate Prince Andrew, when Prince Andrew in return will implicate her. But won't it look pretty suspect if they let her die in custody, if she dies in custody?
Yes. As certain as I'm walking here through a cloud of mosquitoes wearing bug guard, she is going to be killed.
Well,
no doubt about it.
I will take your word for walking through a cloud of mosquitoes wearing bug guard. But we do have to leave it there, my friend. Tell people where they can find you, apart from here once a week on the Xander Gibb Show, while we are still in existence.
Right. We're on Fox News now. Fox News has bought the station, and the news is less tabloid-like Trump bashing, by the way, which is refreshing.
Right.
The news breaks at the top of the hour, and it's 94.9, and you can easily just go to freedomondeck.com. All the information is there. All the back shows are there.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us, CV. Have a great night. Stick around, catch the rest of the show, and we will speak to you again very soon, my friend.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you too, my brother. Thanks a lot. That was CV Burton from Freedom on Deck. Make sure you check them out Sundays, 3 to 5. Best place to get them is at freedomondeck.com. And my next guest is an author. He's been on the show before. His name is Michael Keller, and he is joining us from the United States of America. He's an advocate regarding anti-bullying. He speaks to schools and businesses regarding his experiences and his life experiences. His first book is called Life in a Week, which is a book about being happy. We're going to ask him more about this and his experiences of depression and how he's used that to help others. So this should be Michael Keller calling us right now from the United States. Welcome back to the show, Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. What a great show. I don't know how I'm going to follow up to that.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Well, welcome back. As I said, you've been on the show before, and you're, like everyone's experiences of bullying is different, and everyone responds in a different way, and everyone has a kind of develops a certain kind of coping mechanism with that. But as part of your coping mechanism, we're going to talk about how you were bullied. But you wrote a book in order to kind of vanquish some of those demons. We're going to talk about that also. But tell us, first of all, how were you bullied and why were you bullied?
Well, I was mainly after I got out of high school and I started getting into the workforce and coming out of the closet and just seeing how I felt, I started to interview other people who from all over the place,
right,
and dealt more with the kids being bullied, kids in school, and that's what really got me started on writing that book. And then after that, I wrote another book about LGBT and coming out of the closet and being bullied, just because it's still not really accepted for who you love. Love is love, but a lot of people don't accept it. So it's, but I was mainly big part of being bullied was working in the blue collar trade, doing the vending machines, and people just really trying to pull you down, and it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about
Right.
the environment and just working with people, changing the environment instead of trying to change people, and that really made a big difference.
So it's not. It's you're open about the fact that it kind of you turn to alcohol because of this. What point did you realize there was a problem with the alcohol? Because a lot of people that have been on the show and talked about any level of alcoholism, they kind of say that there was a point where they said, I got to stop doing this.
It's really, one day I woke up and I realized the first thing I do before I even brush my teeth, I would check to see how much of the bottle I had left from the night before.
Wow.
I checked this one cabinet, and even after the first year of not drinking and being in the same kitchen, I had this one cabinet. And even a year later, I would find myself at least once or twice a week when I woke up checking that cabinet.
Right.
And that's when I knew. I said, I need to. Oh, wow, a lot of fireworks in the background. I'm just going to move. I don't know if you can hear that.
Maybe they heard that the show was live and they're just having a celebration about that. So how did you stop drinking? What methodology did you use to stop drinking?
When I started to do the interviews with people and realizing that I really had a great life, that's because I'm interviewing people that have gone through so much more of a hell, and being bullied and beaten up, and I realized I have no excuse, and I need to get better if I want to help other people.
Right.
And I started going to AA. I did AA for a long time, and I think it's great for a lot of people. I don't go to AA anymore. I have a lot of friends who are in it, and I talk with them. Once I met my partner, I really have no thoughts of even drinking. It's
right.
Amazing. It's like it just disappeared. It was like some kind of a weird blessing.
Because there is this ideology, isn't there? A lot of people think that with when you have experienced alcoholism, that it's okay to just have a drink, now and again. But for alcoholics, that's not the case, is it?
No, because one really will turn into 100. You can't just have one. When you're an alcoholic, one is just the turning point. It's sort of like with the lockdown and the depression.
Yeah.
The stay-at-home orders, and people they have the loneliness and the worry and finances, and they're missing out. Well, it's the same thing with an alcoholic. You think you're missing out on so much until you realize that you're not missing out on anything at all.
Right, absolutely. It's interesting. You mentioned lockdown because so many people who do suffer with depression and anxiety and mental health problems have really been put through the ringer during this time because there's been no support services available because of social distancing, etc. So I imagine, as someone who suffers with depression and anxiety myself, it's been a really tough time, and I'm in a better place than I've been for a long time. But I worry for those that are not in such a good place.
It's really tough for so many people. And you look at in the United States, 75% of all elderly that are in the old age homes, they cannot have any visitors. There's no visitors. There's nothing.
Terrible.
So I think of them, and what I've found for myself is if you focus on other people and try to just make that extra phone call or reach out to someone else, it really helps yourself because it gets you in a better place. It makes you feel so much better as you're helping others.
Absolutely, because there is an element of helping yourself and helping others. There is a kind of aspect of that within that, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah, and setting daily goals. That's the key right now. If you suffer from any type of depression or anxiety, set goals. I lost 20 pounds since this whole lockdown because
Wow.
I changed my diet. I just set a little goal.
Whereas,
Changing.
yeah, whereas most people in lockdown, not myself because I've been on this keto diet and lost like 160 pounds, but everyone else I speak to is like, Xander, how come you've managed to still lose weight during lockdown? And I just give them my keto smile. But that's because a lot of it is very circular, isn't it? And a lot of people eat. Some people drink, some people drink. Some people run to the liquor store, but some people wobble to the refrigerator, and I was one of those people because that's how I would feed my that was my drug of choice, food.
Yeah, and boredom, right? When you eat more when you're bored.
Yeah, exactly. And then you feel bad because you've eaten so much, so you eat more to kind of cope with that. So it's very it's a very vicious circle. Now, you wrote a book called Bullies Among Us, which is a guide to help prevent and stop bullying. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book.
So Bullies Among Us is basically a bunch of stories from all walks of life, from young to old. The first half of the book is for bullying, like I was saying, at work. So it's in the workplace bullying and cyberbullying. And then the second half of the book is more geared towards students and how they should cope with it, and a lot of facts and a lot of stories about myself and other people that I've interviewed in school. So it's mainly to help you to see that there's other people going through the same thing. You're not
Right.
alone, and some of the coping mechanisms to really stop the bullying. And sometimes you need to stand up. Sometimes you need to, I just saw a video this morning where there was a girl in a locker room, and two girls started really bullying this girl, but because her father taught her how to, once that other girl hit her, she knew she had to stand up. And sometimes,
Right.
We say don't hit, but you need to be able to have that confidence and she did. She punched her once, and they both stopped bullying her, and she solved the problem. And so it's not a straightforward situation all the time. Sometimes you need to have learned protection, which
Of
is
course.
really important.
I never got this ideology with parents saying, "Oh, don't hit back," don't be fighting with people. But if someone, when I was in school, I was bullied in school, and even the teachers bullied me, because I was the gay fat kid, and so when I would get hit, there's no way in hell I was gonna stand there and let them hit me, because if you hit them back once, they kind of are not sure about coming to hit you again, and nobody should be hit. But if you hit someone and someone hits you in defense, you've kind of got what you deserve.
Oh, 100%. And I know you talk a lot about liberalism, but that's what now if you hit back, and even if it's on tape, which everything is because everyone has phones, and you just were defending yourself, you still will get suspended.
Yeah.
Or it's just some of the laws are just ridiculous.
Yeah, because they say, "Oh, your kid was fighting in school." No, my kid wasn't fighting in school. My kid was defending themselves. But I was subject to homophobic bullying at school, and even the teacher would get in on it and say, "Oh, is your name Jesse?" and things like this, which sounds funny. But when the other kids are saying these kinds of things to you, you actually expect the teacher to jump in and say, "Hey, now come on, stop this. We're not having this kind of thing." But I went to school in the 80s, and things were different then. Because some people have this ideology that if you're not tough enough to stick up for yourself, tough luck. But not everybody is built that way, and I really think that my experiences of being bullied have I think they contributed to my comedic license, because when I started to make them laugh, they didn't want to bully me so much, because if they could get me to be cheeky to the teacher, then they didn't need that. That was the distraction, really. So I suppose it had a good byproduct in the end, but I still would have rather not gone through it, because you are scarred for life when you are bullied. No doubt about it. If you're bullied as a child or as an adult, you're scarred by that level of bullying.
I was speaking with an ex-military Marine. I posted about it a few days ago. He was retired in war. He was in the war and a bunch of wars, and he was talking to me, and we were talking about bullying, and he still remembered the kid's name when he was 10 years old who used to bully him.
Yeah.
And he had a tear in his eyes. And this is a retired military guy that said it affected him. He said, "You need to tell my story." And I sat down and we talked, and I'm writing his story, because no matter how strong or brave or anything, it's the kid, you really are affected. And that.
Yeah.
And he took it in a positive way. Like you became more of a comedian.
Yeah. It's funny because...
From your...
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, so it changes our whole life's future.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the people that used to bully me when I was at school, I was in a gay club in London, and I bumped into him, and he started treating me like we were best friends, and I'm like, dude, you used to make my life a misery because I was gay, and here you are in a gay club. And a few people overheard that, and he was booed out of the club, which I suppose in a way was an act of bullying, but I kind of think he deserved it. It's hard to forgive, even when you're an adult, but that was a great experience for me because the bully got their comeuppance, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah. The karma. It really is true.
Exactly.
You don't wish anything bad, but hopefully he learned from that, and hopefully he doesn't teach others to be a bully.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is a good lesson.
Yeah, and I guess in a way as well, he couldn't deal with his own sexuality, so he used that as a tool to bully me, which is sad in itself, but I think it's very commonplace. We got to leave it there. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's the number one reason. It's insecurities.
Yeah.
People have fear, and that's why they do it.
Absolutely. We got to leave it there, Michael. But tell people where they can find you and where they can buy your book.
So our main website is michaelseankeller.com or bulliesamongus.com. But michaelseankeller.com is the best place, or Michael Sean Keller on Facebook and Instagram. And the good news is both books, my last two books, are coming out in Spanish by the end of the year. So,
Por favor?
Spanish version.
Por favor?
Yeah.
That's great. That's absolutely great that it's coming out in Spanish too, because Spanish speakers get bullied too. Listen, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. You can find Michael's contact information on the Xander Gibb show page for today. But thank you so much for joining us. Michael Keller, have a great week, and give our best to your partner.
Thank you. I will, and I'll see you on the next time.
Absolutely, for sure. Thank you so much, brother. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Michael Sean Keller. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you check his books out regarding his experiences of being bullied. I shared far more than I expected to about my bullying experiences tonight, but it's all good. People often say to me, you overshare on the show. We had a segment on addiction once, and I was talking about when I used to take cocaine, and people are like, "Oh, Xander, you said you used to take cocaine." But if it helps somebody else, to see that I've come through it and I'm fairly okay, then it's a good thing. It's a good life lesson. Thank you for that comment, chat. Not had your fill of the Gibbs Stir. You can catch me 5 nights a week, 5 Pacific, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 1 in the UK, and 12 in Australia the next day. Join us tomorrow for more scintillating chat where Joe Messina and Chet Martin will be joining us. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe out there. If you haven't clicked the share button, please do that. Please go to the Xander Gibb Show page and click follow on there. I have been Xander Gibb, and I love you all. I do. Bye-bye.
It has been good to me this time around. Things were never bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact, and I can find no ribs. This is love, yeah, love. Never known true love before. Seen so many counterfeits that left me on the floor. This is love, yeah, love. All will come to those who wait. Time it cannot know the bounds, and eras don't dictate.
Click the bell button and subscribe to keep up with the Xander Gibb Show.